I'd like to see, does anybody here not recognize the name of Charles Hurwitz? Raise your hand. Okay. How about Maxam? Okay. Pretty educated audience. So when Greg entered the fray here, he came very well equipped. He was already an award-winning journalist, having investigated Louisiana Pacific's liquidation logging of Sonoma County. It was his published newspaper reports that resulted in Louisiana Pacific, I think, leaving. I don't think they went very far before they went to Mexico, unfortunately, but notably, about 20,000 acres of their redwood holdings, because of Greg's newspaper reports, were saved in state parks. For his reporting, he received the Lincoln Steffens Award for Investigative Journalism. This is named after a famous muckraker from San Francisco who was editor of McClure's at the turn of the century. This led to his investigation of Maxam and the takeover of Pacific Lumber in 1985, and then it led to Greg coming here. And by 1987, Greg had mapped and named Headwaters Forest, which we now have saved. Greg was really born into this. About 5 generations ago, his forebears logged the virgin redwoods of Sonoma, probably Mendocino as well. And the King Range and King Ridge are both named after his family. So when he came into this fray, he was well prepared. His photographs of this struggle have appeared most notably in a book called Coastal Redwoods, the Cultural and Natural History. But he's also had photographs published in Smithsonian and Newsweek and a variety of other magazines. I don't think it's just restricted to the Headwaters struggle, though, because Greg has wandered with his photojournalistic skills from Chile, where he climbed some of the tallest trees in a national park there, all the way up to Bella Coola in British Columbia, where he was a Greenpeace photographer, documenting the struggle of the Bella Coola natives against the logging of their tribal lands. He also was participated in a lot of activities in the county offices. So he needed all these skills when he came to Humboldt, and I'll tell you why. When he came here, he was confronted by a community that was divided against itself. When Hurwitz invaded Humboldt County, I think all he brought was a couple of accountants. So he needed us, and he got us. He needed timber workers, he needed truck drivers, he needed watershed specialists. Most of all, he needed politicians, and he got them big time. In order to run those mills 3 shifts a day and flood the market with one of the most precious resources in the planet, old-growth redwood, he needed all that help. Now, this struggle and tonight's history is really a living history. So I want you to really pay attention to something that occurred. When one of Maxam's exit strategies that some of you will remember quite well, during their bankruptcy, they proposed mini kingdoms. These were 20,000 acres of their cut-over timberlands would become Headwaters Heights. 160 acres with a house and a barn and a pig and a pot, I guess. And this was floated before the supervisors. In other words, they wanted to populate our watersheds, develop our watersheds, and subdivide our resource lands. Does this sound familiar? The same players who were very active then, CPR, Sunshine, HELP, were very active back then, and that's what our general plan update is fighting right now. So this is very much of a living history. Let me just tell you a little bit more about some of the things that Greg has done. I need to just depart from the headwater struggle. Greg has done a lot of things. In 1999, he founded the Smith River Project to investigate the Easter lilies. 90% of our Easter lilies come from the Smith River estuary in a sea of chemicals that would put the periodic table to shame. Nobody was looking at this until Greg started looking at it. And true to his activist journalism, it resulted in an article on Good Friday in the San Francisco Chronicle explaining where your Easter lilies come from, right, which is about 11 years to the day today. This morphed in, I think, 2005 into the Siskiyou Land Conservancy, which Greg founded and is protected close to 1,000 acres now, from McCoy Creek down in Mendocino over to Sonoma up to Smith River. Is that about 1,000 acres? Western Mendocino. Yeah. And then, but my favorite part, though, is that, don't worry, Greg, is that Greg is a teacher as well. He teaches creative writing at NPA, which is wonderful. He's also has a wonderful family, a teenage daughter, and his singer-musician wife. I'll just say one more thing about Greg. He not only inherited the logging of virgin redwoods from his forebears, but his dad. His dad was a banker in Sonoma when, and you know, Hurwitz was a banker, sort of, a financier, and the banking, that was a S&L crisis. And Greg's dad was a banker in Sonoma County and was offered the head of some bank, you know, under suspicious circumstances, no doubt. That's where Lincoln Savings and Loan was. And Greg's dad turned it down. Greg's dad is known as the last honest banker in Sonoma County. That's really what Greg is.